So what I'll show you today, and I'm happy to do as many of these sessions that you need in order to help you understand the system. We put a lot of time, we developed the product with CIT down in Cork, and we put a lot of time into making it intuitive and easy to navigate and all the rest. But if any of you need individual help with anything or any of the features, just drop me a mail and I'll be happy to talk you through it or spend time with you. So just let me know what would be helpful there. Um, there's multiple different parts to the software, and you're using some of it, but not all of it. So I'll explain and show you the bits that are relevant today, and then we can talk about. I'm not sure whether it's worth trying to cover all of it, Michael, in one go. We have the reporting then, which is what we're using Microsoft Power BI to create the reports. And that's, I think, where you're going to find the real nuggets of gold, hopefully, in terms of being able to look at behavior over time and look at different performances and different situations, and really start to do analytics of it and do that sort of slicing and dicing yourselves without needing our help. So the application that we have is called WAPS, Work Area Performance System, and it's a series of web pages that we've created for ye for looking at the energy. We're now expanding it out to look at OEE and performance. We're going to have an automated shift report, and we're going to have the ability to look at water and compressed air and all of that kind of stuff. So there's a number of aspects. Some of it we've already completed and it's already in place, but some of it is still in development, if you like, or in execution. So I'm going to share my screen. Um, so when you log into, uh, so I'll send you a link to a web page basically, and that's an internal web page on your network, and that'll take you into this what we call our work area performance system. And Mike, if you send me an email with all of the users, I'll create a user for each person and a password. Okay. So right now I'm going to log in as a Smart Factory user, and that takes you in then into the dashboards. Okay, and we've created a number of different dashboards. I don't know if any of you have seen this. If some of you may already have seen all of this, or some of it are. I'm not sure. How familiar are people with it, Mike? Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have a manual, if you like, that goes with it, which I'll share with you. It's a PDF, but I thought it was better to just uh, talk through it and explain it. Now, what I'm sharing with you is not your data; it's your software, but running on simulated data, just on a demo server. So the numbers here won't make sense, and the patterns and all the rest. This is what we use for testing. Okay, because if I log into your VPN and share your data, then it doesn't allow me to run the WebEx at the same time. Okay, so this is exactly as you see it, but just the numbers here won't be correct, and won't be sensible. Okay, so down the left hand side then you have the various different dashboards. So we've got M1 dryer, which is the dryer. We've got the evaporator with fermentation and prep, and each of the gauges that you see in each area are specific to what it says on the title. Okay, so the electricity that we are showing here, at the moment I'm showing a simulated value at 1500. That's the live data that's been updated every 5 minutes. Um, it's the live data that's currently running through our simulated M2 dryer, but only to the dryer. Okay, same way with the gas and same way with the steam. Okay, we then take all of those three uh, utilities and we combine them together. And that's the sum of the kilowatts for the gas, the electricity, and the steam, and that's our total energy. And then we look at what is our throughput and our total energy, and that's what defines this number here. So we have a target of how many kilowatts per ton, and in the future, this target will be linked to the product. Okay, so we'll be able to say how many um, for W17 versus W25 or whatever the product codes are, what should be the target kilowatt hours per ton. And then if the variance is negative, so if it means you're using less kilowatts per ton than the target, then this box is green. And if the variance is positive, it means you're using more energy, and then that box goes red. Okay. Um, you, so Donald has given me, and Chris have given me kind of two starting out points, if you like. What we're going to do is we're going to make a more elaborate database of targets. So based on when we see historical, because we're gathering a lot of data now over the last 6 months, and we'll be able to look at every time you made a particular product, what was the actual consumption. So the targets, instead of them being um, kind of general common targets across all products, we'll be able to be more specific and say the last 3 times you made this product, you were able to use on average 1480 kilowatts, for example. Okay, we're, you want two decimal places. Okay, okay. And I'm very happy to take feedback, guys. So if there's even other things that you see over the next weeks and months or whatever, are happy to take on board the suggestions and recommendations. So um, okay, so that's what these numbers here refer to, right? So we've got a target, we've got our actual, and then uh, this box in the center here is kind of the red and the green. Am I good? Am I bad? The shift then, we call this our downtime viewer. If I was looking at a production line, in your case, we're calling it our state viewer, and you can hover over any event and actually see what was that event. So here, a simulation CIP in for 4 minutes, start up and shut down for 2 minutes, etc. Okay. What we'll show you when we go into the OE dashboard is you can click on those events now, and in the OE dashboard you can actually give a reason for an event, a downtime event. Okay, I'll come back to that in a few minutes. Okay, this line here, it's just refreshing on the chart is the target. Okay, so we have a target here of what how many kilowatts per ton that's driven by. That's the 1600 number here, and then we've our actual. Okay, now again these are only simulated numbers, but how many kilowatts per hour, kilowatt hours per ton am I actually running? So you can see here over time, when you're doing a CIP, your throughput goes down, and therefore your kilowatts per ton will spike because you've got no throughput or very low throughput, but your energy doesn't drop off correspondingly. So you'll see those spikes occur. You'll go above the target for intervals. around CIPs and startup shutdowns, etc. Okay. I can then click on this little blue navigation button here, and I can break it down and say that's my total energy for the whole site now, or for my whole M2 dryer. If I wanted to look at just the steam over the shift, how many kilowatt hours of steam have I used in each hour? Okay, versus my target. Now again, the target, we've only started out with these to say, let's have a starting point, but I'll have a target to say how much steam should I have used? How much gas should I have used? How much electricity should I have used? Okay, again, all of these numbers are simulated, but over time we'll be able to build up a historical picture of what does for each product, what should my target usage be across each hour. Okay, each of these are an hour. This is between 6:30 and 7:30, 7:30 and 8, etc. the whole way along. Okay, any questions? So that's what this blue button here gives you to the ability to navigate across those different gauges. All right, then my current shift, I'm on days, what we call days. It's the 29th of September. If I want to look back at the previous shift, I click on the previous shift button, and this shows me what happens this morning. Okay. Or if I want to look back to last week, I go into the calendar and go into select a shift, and I can pick any shift I choose. Okay. And this button here tells me what shift I'm currently viewing. Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions from anybody? We've actually added that now in the OE dashboard. That was something that James and Chris asked for. So we can do the same here as well, Michael. If you want to add that can be added because we have that in our shift pattern. We've created the A, B, C, and D. Okay, so that's all the different areas in the two systems. We then have this additional uh, area called utilities, and here we're showing the gauges for the instantaneous consumption of the boilers of the water treatment in terms of kilowatt hours of per meter cubed of water. The wastewater treatment, again, kilowatts per meter cubed of wastewater. Compressed air, the numbers are quite small, so it's relative to the volume, so we're using watts rather than kilowatts. And then chilled water, how many meters cubed per kilowatt. Okay, we're working on a proposal at the moment to add in water and nitrogen and compressed air, and we'll do the same as we have on the other dashboards. We'll have totalized values because all this is showing you is the instantaneous reading. You don't know whether that's good or bad, even though we have the red and the green. You could be looking at a snapshot in time that could be good, but you could be high or you could be low. So we're going to have a series of boxes like we have on the M2 jar. We'll have boxes totalizing each of those, and then we'll have a chart where you can go in and look at the breakdown of the steam and the breakdown of the chilled water and the compressed air, etc., over time. Okay, and we're working on a proposal with the guys for that at the moment. That's a good question. um, I know. What I have is a document that says, the electricity meter is T7 or T8, for example. Now, what I can't tell you, but Dan has schematic diagrams that show, for steam, for gas, but we have an FDS document that defined. Let me just see if I can share that with you here for a moment. So for example, in M2 dryer, the steam is made up of the dehumidifier steam feed, FT29 from the Anderson-Hauser unit, and FT30. And I add those up to give me my total steam. And when I'm in a CIP, I'm showing one value, and when it's in production, I'm showing the other value. So it might be useful to share this. This is a big document now, but it might be handy just to share this description with you as well, just so everybody knows where the calculations are coming from for the different areas. Would that help? Okay. Is that okay? So then the latest module we've been working on then is around oh yeah, we have another dashboard here, which is the master dashboard. And this is showing, I think you're probably familiar with this one. This is showing the M1 dryer and M2 dryer just on a single page where the numbers are combined. Okay. Again, just it's more intended for view on a screen rather than there's very little interaction or navigation associated with it. It automatically shows you just the information for your shift, and the numbers that we show is always shift to now. So it's always from, if it's days, it's always from 6:30:00:00 to whatever time you're looking at it at that moment in time. Okay. Then the other dashboard that we've implemented is this OE dashboard, and this is the one that uh, we're going to talk a little bit more about because it needs some interaction from you to make it work properly. So on this we have a shift target. So that's the amount of tons of product that you need to make on the shift. The shift actual is coming from the bag off unit. So this is not working live at the moment, but the guys are working on this at the moment to get the data from the WISE system and push it into our database. So for every bag that gets made in every sorry about that. So for every hour, we'll have uh, uh, the actual amount of tons coming from the bag off. That's the shift actual. Okay. Then we've got the run rate target, and the run rate target comes from the product. So for each product, you've given us a list of process specifications, and for each product, we have a target run rate per hour. So for example, if I go into M2 here, you can see that in the first hour, I have a target of 6 tons. In the second hour, I have a target of 16, for example. And the uh, the targets here are driven by the product. Okay, so the run rate target comes from the product, but the target for the overall shift comes from your plan. How many tons did you plan to make throughout the 12 hours? So at the end of your shift, and when you're handing over to the next shift, what you would do is go in and choose the next shift. So the shift that hasn't started yet. So you go into evenings, so there's no information there uh, on what has happened yet. And you go in and select your shift target. So for example, the target in there at the moment is 60 tons. So I'll increase that to 70 tons. Okay. And update that. So that's the target for the shift that's coming next, this evening's shift. Okay. If I go back, Okay, so the shift target is the plan, but the hourly target is based on the product. Okay, and what you'll see here is if we do a product change from 1 hour to the next, the target is live. Okay, the target is actually changing in real time. So for example, if your target was to make 60 tons in an hour, just to make the number simple, in the first minute, your target would be 1 ton. After 10 minutes, your target would be 10 tons. So that target is increasing throughout the hour, and then your actual coming from the bag off is increasing throughout the hour. And if what you've made in the hour is on track versus your run rate target, the bars here will be green. And if you've missed your target in that hour, then the bars are red. Okay. But those targets are based on the run rate target. Then the banner, sorry, the recipe is coming from the PLC. Yeah. Now, there's a problem with that. We're getting it sometimes and we're not getting it every time. So we get, for example, here we've got W25 and sometimes those values come in at blank, and Dan is working on that at the moment. Something, it seems to be good on M2, but we have gaps in the recipe and the product information coming from N1. But we hopefully will have that fixed in the next few days. Yeah. So now here is your 49 states. Okay. And we've taken all of those states and we've consolidated them into 5. Okay. So we've considered anything startup and shutdown is any of these states here where the system is warming up or cooling down or whatever. Running is clear. There's only one state that's actually running. And here it's on water in these states. So all of the 49 have been consolidated into only 5. And they're the 5 that we show here on the on the um, on the state diagram. That's on that's for these ones here. They they should be running. Is that right? Dan mentioned that to me last week, and we didn't get to change it yet. So okay, is that all right? And we have the same definition then, guys, for M1. What are all the states that we get from the different? There's more states in M1, but again we've consolidated all of those down to these 5. Okay. Now on the um, on the dashboard here, so we said that the color here per hour is driven by the actual from the bag off versus the run rate. The color up at the top, say the green banner here, is driven by your shift target. Okay, so again, if I take simple sums, in the first hour I was going to make 60 tons, say. If after 1 minute I've made 1 ton, then my overall banner up on top here would be green. If I've made half a ton, my overall banner up on top will be red. So it's looking at, we actually break it down into per second data, but we're looking at the total production over uh, what was planned versus what I'm actually doing from the shift, and that allows you to take into account CIPs and startups and shutdowns. So you might find that there are intervals when sometimes this header up here is red or green, but at the end of the shift it catches up because the overall total is is on track. Okay, does that make sense? The downtime minutes then, the downtime is everything not green. Okay, so when I showed you the 5 states earlier, if there's any state, we call state number 1 is running, and anything that's green is running, and anything other than that contributes to the downtime minutes. Okay, and then James and Chris have given us the calculation for overall operational efficiency. Okay, and then on the let me just log back in there again. On the shift here, this is where we're showing that it's on days. Okay, so again, if you want to see that, Michael, on the other dashboards, we can include that as well. Okay, if I click on the blue button here, then it shows me I can show my output per hour, or I can show my cumulative output over the whole shift to now, and everything that we show is shift to now. So if I'm on my current shift, it'll always be up to the time I'm in. So if I'm at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whatever, and if I'm at the previous shift, it'll always be the summation over the total shift. Okay, so now I have a CIP here, for example, and will I keep going, Michael, or yeah? Um, so I want to give an explanation now why my CIP didn't go according to plan, or some downtime event here, okay? So I click on that and I get these what we call reasons. And then Chris and James have given us the different types of reasons. So is it a technical reason? Is it a technological reason? Okay. So here I'm going to choose a technical reason. I had a nozzle problem, for example. I can add in a comment here to say what happened, and then I submit that. Okay. And within a couple of minutes, you'll see that. So now here you can see that there's a little speech bubble there to show that somebody has made a comment on that downtime event. Okay. And over a period of, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, we'll do an analysis then on the top reasons over the shift, and we'll produce a Pareto chart of all of the reasons and prioritize the ones that that occurred the most. Okay. I'm just going to choose a different one. I'm sorry, guys. I'm logged in on a generic user, and other people are trying to log into the same information. So sorry for the dropout. Okay. So what you'd see here now is I had one nozzle problem, and I had one lack of material problem. Okay. And then my pie chart here is aggregating all of again, this is all shift to now. This number is changing constantly. And I can see my running time based on these numbers here was 66% of the time. Okay. Any questions? So to navigate between the different dryers, I just choose between here, and then to choose any shift, I navigate. I choose between past shift and future shifts. The entering of the shift target has to be done in advance of the next shift coming up. Right now, the request was to do it at the end of your current shift for the start of the next shift. So that's how we've implemented at present. We could, we could, but that was specifically the request. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I have to log me out again. Yeah, yeah. It's shown on the speech bubble, and you can actually go into that event and see what was written in for that. So here was my nozzle problem and the comments that I entered here. And exactly, yeah. Um, this will log all of those entries. So you'll have um, a summary of how much uptime, downtime, all of the reasons, the comments, etc. They're all getting logged into the database. What we're working on at the moment now is the shift report. Okay, and the shift report, it's not done, but you'll have the ability here to click on this, and that'll take you to what you similar to what you're familiar with at the moment. Let me see if I have. So this is what James and Chris and I have been working on, where you'll have a form on the screen that you'll be able to look at safety and all of the safety items, look at quality and all of the quality items. You'll enter your quantity here in tons, and we'll calculate the percentage for you. And if the percentage above or below your target, we'll make it red or green. So we're trying to make it as easy and as simple and to do the, the, the calculations, etc. for you. If you had no safety issues, you'll just click a box here to say, tick the box, no safety issues. And all of these will automatically populate to say, no near misses, no safety incidents, no LTIs, etc. Okay? We don't have that at the moment. Sorry. Um, there isn't a plan, but there's nothing to stop us doing it. So if we can get, so for example, here, say, um, if I go down to say an easy one, say energy, you don't have to enter the energy data. We'll pull that in from the energy dashboard because it's in the database. Okay. So the same way on quality, if the quality information was available on a database somewhere, we could pull that in. We don't have that connectivity at the moment, but there's no reason why in the future, if we had moistures or so, there's talk about adding in, for example, here, what the test moistures were for that were entered into the APC system. Okay, you know the values, Michael, that you gave us for the PLC tags. We've added those into the historian now. So those values are being logged. If the moisture values are there, we'll log them here every 2 hours. And if they're not, we'll have the ability for the shift supervisor to go in and manually enter into the value and enter the values. I don't know. I didn't see that, to be honest. Okay. And then you'll have the ability to add in notes, and you'll be able to add, upload photographs. If you had a safety issue, you'll be able to go into the safety and add a photograph. And in the future, if you want to assign it to somebody, so for example, James was explaining that if you have alarms that on the safety system, if you choose here on this drop down list follow up, then they'll automatically get pre-populated in the shift report for the next person coming on. And until it gets closed, it'll remain active until they get closed out. Okay, we're still in the definition phase, so it's not 100% finalized at the moment, but we're, we're nearly there. Yes, yeah. And again, we'll take, so for example, calculating the overall quantity out of spec. If you had, say, you put in 5 tons here for low density and you had 2 burst bags or something, at the end of the day at 6:29:59, at the end of the shift, the last second, I'll capture the total amount that you produced on the previous shift, and I'll calculate the percentage for that. Okay, it's at the moment it's manual. Anything that we can automate, anything that we can automate, we are automating here, but a lot of it is manual data. But again, because if I have the Lance state closed or open in the historian, then we can do the same thing like you're talking about there for the APC. We can show how many lances were open for percentage of times or whatever. Yeah. Um, okay. What we're trying to do here is, so if you had no safety issues, you just click one box and you close out those 4. Nothing to do. If you had no quality issues, you tick one box and it closes out these, nothing to do. So we've tried to make it as user friendly as possible, but it's still a manual entry if you like. Now, again, once we share, so this is right now, this is only in Excel, we're building this in a database and in a WAPS application. So we'll share the mock-up of that with James and Chris, hopefully before the week is out. And then if there's other suggestions or feedback that you'd like us to take on board, then for sure we can look at that as well. Okay. No, they're as close as possible, but there's differences. So the safety, for example, are slightly different. Some of the descriptions is here are slightly different. So again, we're trying to make it as generic as possible, but you don't have to do anything. You just choose. You choose in your shift report. You go in and you choose M1, and it'll pre-populate with everything that you need to know for M1. These numbers here. So we have a, let me see if I can find the, uh, just going to show you what we're starting out with as the targets. So for example, this is the starting point. So what's the product, SAP code, description, and then for each of those we'll have a run rate target defined, and that we'll have a starting out point, and that might change or evolve over time as we start to gather more data from the system. Okay, any questions? So I don't know whether to take that as an insult in my training capabilities, or whether you're so bamboozled by what I've been talking about that you just think it's a lot of nonsense. So uh, yeah, yeah. So the intention here is, if you had no near miss, first aid, etc., the first four, you just tick the box, and we will write the statement automatically: no near miss, no first aid, etc. So those four will get pre-defined and pre-selected. On the alarm system, then, if you have an alarm and uh, you've entered information about that alarm here, but it's not fixed and it's going to happen on the next shift and maybe the next few shifts, what you go in and you select on a drop down list here, you select follow up. And that means that all of that information gets retained, and when you open the shift report for the next shift, it'll automatically show everything that was entered previously. Okay, same way with the, in fact, it's the same way with all of these items. We've made it generic. It was intended for the ones that do often occur and exist maybe for a number of shifts at a time. But that same information, if you want to select anything as a follow-up and pass that over to the next person, then by clicking in the drop-down list follow-up, that information will get pre-populated into the next shift report. We have the same on the lotto boards as well, James, isn't that right? Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure, Michael, how, because there is a lot of information being captured here, but for example, if each of those, you may not have all of those in a particular shift. So if it doesn't happen, you don't put a value in, and therefore it doesn't show up on the shift report. You know, that's the objective. Is there's a lot of information in the template, but only what is relevant to what went on your shift will get shown in the final report. Yeah, and again, the objective is once you enter the data here, that's the hard work. All of the reporting, the analytics, and the dashboard that shows you or the report will be automated. So you won't have to go into Excel and copy and paste data from different tables or different fields or different dates. If you want to go into, have you seen the Power BI dashboards that we've created? Okay, so for example, and these are some of these are work in progress at the moment, but for example, if you want to look at a particular product, okay, this is the product. I know when this product was made, so I can slide this time interval over any period of time, and you can see every time that that product was made. But you can also look at the process variables and say, what was the condition of the high pressure pump 2 when I was running this product with this particular air temperature or whatever. So all of this kind of slicing and dicing of the data is available to you to look at it in whatever way you need to do your analytics. But in addition, then we've got the daily energy usage. Okay, so we're automatically showing. So now there's nothing for the guys to do in terms of electricity. I go in and I choose my start date and my end date, and that's the electricity that got used on that date. Same way for the gas. All of that data is automatically being created. Okay, I have this is my um, individual gas in meters cubed and kilowatt hours and electricity over, and again I can go in and choose any particular date from my start time and my end time, and it'll automatically give me those numbers. Okay, so the intent would be, for example, the reasons that you've entered in. So Chris shared with me an Excel spreadsheet around um, the summarizing of all of the shift reports at the end of a month. And what we're going to produce is a proposal then as to what would a useful dashboard be like for that summation of, how many times were you on target versus target, on track versus target, what were the top issues in the last week, in the last month, etc. So we'll put some proposals together around what that would look like, and then we'll share it for feedback. And then this is the kind of the master dashboard. So this is showing um, how did we do on M1 in the last 24 hours? How did we do on M2 in the last 24 hours? We're not getting the throughput at the moment, the totalized throughput from the bag off unit. So none of these figures then, they're all relying on kilowatts per ton. But what will happen here is you'll have your total tons that you made automated, and how much total energy the dryer took per ton, how much total energy the wet phase took per ton. Same way on, in fact, the dryer is the total is the energy here, and the total energy here is everything to do with M1. And the same way here, this is the dryer of M2 and the total energy for all of M2. And then here we've got, so this is a BI, a Microsoft Power BI link, and I'll send you, there's a URL, and any of you can just any of you can just click into that, and it takes you to those dashboards. Okay. So I'll send you four. We've got four or five. We've about five BI dashboards so far. And again, I would suggest, don't be afraid to log in, and you can't break it. If you break it, it's our fault. It's not. It shouldn't be something that you can do something wrong on. So feel free to play around and use it. And if you do have any issues in terms of navigation or in terms of the numbers or whatever, just drop me a mail, and we'll get the guys onto it straight away. Okay. Every process variable is being logged. Some of them are being logged every second, some of them every minute. For the energy one, some of them are every 5 minutes. So we have 800 process variables now on the site that we're logging into the historian. But if the stuff that you want to look at, then it's not a big deal for us to create. And ideally, where I'd like to get to is that you guys can create your own Power BI dashboards. Millions. We have about 2 million data points since last November, I think. Um, I, we have a project we did end of last year in the States, and we were logging 1,200 process variables a second. So I haven't found a limit of, it's a GE historian. We use GE's historian as the data collector. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely. The infrastructure, we've a good infrastructure in place now. So if we can build on it over time. Um, we have the licensing agreement we have with GE. We started out with 100 tags, we went up to 400, 500, we increased it to 800, and then with the digital twin project, we took it up to 1,000. So you only pay for the tags that you need, and you only pay for them from when you need it. So it's a pretty decent kind of model with GE. So um, right now we've gone to about 830 tags across the whole site, and some of those are, so for example, if you wanted to look at a process, the high pressure pump or something, or the, I don't know, mass flow rate through the gas, for example, that's, but you can click and drag that up and zoom in over time. You can, so, the amount of information that's here is phenomenal. And if the tags aren't there and you need more tags in, that's a couple of hours work for us to add extra tags in. If it's in the PLC, there's two bits we need to do. We need to take it from the PLC, and we use Kepler to get it out of the PLC and put it into the historian. And then I need to go into Power BI and map it into Power BI so that you can have it in a graph like this. Only what's practical, really. You know, I'd be inclined to, if there's a lot of data you want to see, it just becomes um, less user friendly if you have to scroll down. Now, if you're using it for troubleshooting, it's fine, but uh, it's easy. Yeah, no, 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 no. This is Microsoft Power BI, and it's really powerful. You know, we're only scratching the surface with what we're doing for you guys here at the moment. There's so much stuff that you can do, and you guys can take a free Microsoft Power BI desktop application yourselves, put it on your PC, link it into our data, and start doing your own charts and trends and um, building your own, fishbone analysis or relationship analysis. You know, it's just so powerful. Yeah, so if you look at here, we've made this now. I tried to make this as generic as possible, that it has all of the process variables, okay? But here I can navigate here across the bottom, and here's all the products you ran between the 8th and the 20th and the 26th, and here's all the batches you ran. Okay, but you could have 100, you can have as many different. Now, I'd be careful to not do it and then regret that you've haven't managed it, you know. So you can have, using the slicers, you can make it very easy. So you don't really need to, it's not like the pens in Wonderware. You don't really need to save the pens. You can just have views, if you like, of the different content. Yeah. And then I think on the third one here, oh yeah, we did a vibration. We have a wireless sensor mounted on one of the air handling units that we're just doing some analytics on. Sorry, didn't. Sorry. Yeah, so that's a wireless sensor. Um, it's in the M1 service duct. There's an air handling unit, and just to prove, because a lot of what we do for other companies is wireless sensors. And I just wanted to demonstrate to Dan how easy it was to, it's a little battery powered unit that takes a short period of time to install. And here we're just looking at X and Z, which is, there's an awful lot more data that's available within the vibration analysis as well. Okay, has that, hopefully guys, that has given you a bit of a flavor for what the system is capable of. Yep. And like I say, uh, don't be apprehensive or don't be afraid of breaking it. It should be intuitive, and it's just a series of, it's a website basically with a series of web pages. No, 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 there's nothing. There's no setup at all. It's all just a URL. So I will send you, Michael, the link to the four Power BI dashboards that I've shown you here, and it's just a web page basically, and you just click on that, and that'll take you into all of this analysis. And the WAPS is an internal. It'll be um, the name of your server basically in Macroom, and you just point it to that, and that'll take you to the login page. And once I have the guys set up on the system, they'll be able to just log in with their own credentials. Was it right? Did I miss a question there? Was there? No. All right. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The way we view the WAPS data is the now. Okay, it's what's happening now, what's happening in the last shift. One or two clicks, you should be able to get to the data. If it takes more than two clicks, we've made it too difficult. The Power BI is more the kind of historical analysis. I want to go in and look at trends over time, and that's how we kind of differentiate the two different systems. All of our raw data that we have in WAPS is being pushed into the Power BI dashboard. But Power BI is not fast enough for the type of data that we're dealing with. So Power BI is really useful for kind of historical trending analysis. So we're taking, for example, air temperatures. We're logging them every second. But in Power BI, we're averaging them over 15-minute intervals. But I actually have the raw data at per second data because of the digital twin project. So we've an enormous amount of data, but if you put that in front of a dashboard, it'll just make it so unuser friendly. But in WAPS, we show you the live information, and then in the BI, then we're kind of smoothing that out. But if there's an area, for example, if we got into moisture or got into, I don't know, some specific part of the process that is constantly causing you problems, and you want to see per second data, then I can easily build a dashboard just for those process variables that is per second data. It is, yeah. It's not my historian, it's your historian. So, and we have it with other customers, and we train them up on how to, like Sherwin. We were training Prachi was training Sherwin and his guys last week on how to take data out of the historian. Now, I wouldn't expect him to be able to put data in because they're data scientists, not process people. But if you have somebody there who's familiar with PLCs and knows how to put in a PLC address and play with Kepware, then you can easily add your own tags into historian. And in fact, that's where we'd like you to be as a customer, if you like, is to be able to manage your own data in and out of historian without us having to be on uh, needed to make you to be able to do that yourselves. Okay. Yeah. And to be honest, we have a ticketing system on online as well. I'll send you the link to. So if you have ideas and features that you want to see that think, oh, if you could do this, this would be helpful, or this makes my life easier. If you could, I'd like to hear that. So I'm interested in us getting the value of your knowledge and experience as well. So certainly, I'd appreciate the feedback, good and bad. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'll make all of this rambling into a little MP4 video, Mike, and I'll send it to you, and then you can put it up on your SharePoint or wherever if people want to have a look at it. And if anybody wants one-on-one training or needs a bit of help or whatever, just drop me a mail and we can set that up.